They don't want you to know this, not because it's a conspiracy, but because it's dangerous. Dangerous to systems that profit off your insecurity. Dangerous to the culture that tells men to outsource their worth. Dangerous to every narrative that keeps you weak, reactive, and afraid of your own mind. The truth? Stoicism isn't just some cold, ancient philosophy tucked away in a dusty corner of the internet. It's a weapon, a mindset forged in fire, used by emperors, soldiers, slaves, and survivors to master pain, power, and purpose. And what it really teaches men is something most people will never tell you. This isn't just about Marcus Aurelius quotes and YouTube wisdom clips. This is about why most men are still suffering and how the Stoics were trying to set you free 2,000 years ago. Let's break it open. Most men walk around with a locked jaw and a quiet panic. They look fine, they're functioning, they smile when they need to, but inside they're drowning. They were taught to chase success before they learned how to sit with themselves, taught to chase women before they learned how to love themselves, taught to chase status, but not purpose. And every time they achieve something, they feel emptier, not fuller. Modern man is spiritually starving because he was never given the tools to feed his inner world. And when you have no internal compass, you'll obey every external signal. You'll overthink when she doesn't reply. You'll panic when your bank account dips. You'll crumble when you're disrespected. You'll try to win validation from a world that never planned to give it to you. And the worst part? You'll think it's your fault. But the Stoics had a word for this chaos. They called it pathy, passions, the violent emotional storms that take over a man when he forgets who he is. Most people think Stoicism is about not caring, that it's about being cold, emotionless, numb. That's a lie. That's what they want you to think, because a numb man is still a controlled man. Stoicism is not emotional repression, it's emotional mastery. Marcus Aurelius cried for his children. Seneca grieved. Epictetus, born into slavery, taught that your soul is free even when your body is in chains. These weren't unfeeling men. These were men who felt deeply, but weren't ruled by their feelings. What Stoicism actually teaches is this: you are not your emotions, you are the observer of them. You can feel pain, rage, rejection, desire, and still choose how you act. You can be insulted and still be calm. You can feel fear and still take the shot. You can love and still let go. The world doesn't want you to know that kind of power, because a man who's not ruled by pleasure or panic is a man you can't manipulate. He doesn't buy out of impulse. He doesn't chase women who don't respect him. He doesn't argue just to be right. He doesn't beg for peace. He builds it. And that is dangerous.
You ever notice how everything around you is designed to distract you from yourself? Fast scrolling, short dopamine hits, porn, noise, the constant pull to consume something, anything, because silence feels like death. But the Stoics? They embraced silence like a friend. They knew the real battlefield was not out there. It was inside your own head. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events," he was writing in the middle of a war. The empire was collapsing. His own health was failing. But still, he trained his mind to stay clear. What they don't want you to know is that stillness is a threat to control systems. A man who sits with his pain, reflects, breathes, and comes back stronger, that man can't be sold panic. He doesn't need distractions. He builds discipline from within. But if you don't know that, you'll keep chasing cheap highs and confusing chaos for aliveness. A Stoic man doesn't run from love. He doesn't avoid women, but he doesn't worship them either. You've been told that you need to win her over, that you need to be agreeable, passive, and emotionally available 24/7. But the Stoics believed love should never cost your integrity. Seneca once said, "A wise man is content with himself first." They don't want you to hear that, because if men stop orbiting women's attention, they become harder to control. You'll stop panicking when she pulls back. You'll stop over-explaining. You'll stop chasing, not because you don't care, but because you know who you are. Love doesn't weaken a Stoic man. It sharpens him, but only when it flows from a full cup, not a leaking one. Loss, rejection, Stoics expected it, practiced for it. They'd imagine death, betrayal, and separation, not to be morbid, but to be prepared. To remind themselves, I can lose everything, but not myself. And that is the ultimate flex. You weren't taught how to sit in discomfort. You were taught to avoid it. You weren't taught how to handle heartbreak. You were told to get over it. You weren't taught how to think. You were taught to react. But the Stoics? They were philosophers and warriors. They trained their minds the same way they trained their bodies, with intention, repetition, and discipline. And no, that's not just old-school stuff for men in togas. That's real-world training for you right now. When she ghosts you, return to self. When you lose your job, focus on what's still in your control. When anxiety creeps in, breathe, observe, don't attach. You see, they won't teach this in school because it doesn't create obedient workers. It creates sovereign men. Men who ask better questions. Men who don't need rescuing. Men who can lead themselves. And that's rare. That's dangerous. And that's your path.
You don't need to wear robes and sandals to live like a Stoic. You don't need to move to a monastery or become a monk. You just need to practice the pause. That moment between emotion and action. That's where your power lives. She disrespects you? Pause. Don't react. Life falls apart? Pause. Breathe. Temptation shows up? Pause. Choose. It's in the pause that boys become men. And no, this path isn't easy. It's not sexy. It doesn't get you instant validation. But it makes you solid. You become the kind of man who doesn't need to be loud to be felt. The kind who can walk away without theatrics. The kind who can sit with pain, walk through fire, and still bless others with your presence. A Stoic man is not untouchable because he's numb. He's untouchable because he's aware. And that awareness is the ultimate superpower. So, what now? Now, you start shedding. You drop the need to be seen. You drop the pressure to always be strong. You drop the desire to prove your worth to people who don't even know theirs. And you begin again. Day by day, set by set, page by page, decision by decision. You reclaim your mornings. You set boundaries that don't require volume. You study not just history, but your history. You stop numbing. You stop running. You stop asking who you should be, and start becoming who you already are. Let me leave you with this. You were never weak. You were just untrained. You were never lost. You were just disconnected. But the man inside you, the quiet one, the one who watches, who waits, who's been whispering all this time, he's still there. And once you let him lead, there's no turning back. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about finally being better than the version of you that kept settling. They don't want you to know this, but now you do. You are the leader you've been waiting for. You are the standard you were told to chase. You are the strength no one taught you how to find. This is growth and development. And if this woke something up in you, subscribe, rewatch, reflect, because we're not just building followers here, we're building men.